And we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network on a beautiful Tuesday night in Southern California. It's about 79 degrees outside, totally clear. I'm not trying to brag. So maybe some of you guys, in the East Coast where now, honestly, I feel like right now everywhere's kind of warm right now. So I don't really feel like there's any, kind of coastal, maybe regional competition that a lot of people kind of play on. You're like, oh, we're on the West Coast. We get 300 sunny days a year, but then you don't really get snow. But honestly, California, kind of where it's at, you pay for it. Taxes definitely. Like I feel like as I'm talking, I've already been taxed like $1,000. I'm just kidding, no. Yeah, let's jump into this next segment. Segment 4, we will talk about professional wrestling in this day and age, in this digital era of social media. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it ugly? Who knows? So yeah, let's dig on in into it. So recently, of course, backstage talks with WWE, and you can see it on Cage Side Seats, also Ringside News, also PW Insider, that Triple H and the WWE are planning to release a documentary for behind the scenes of WWE's WrestleMania 40. Do you like that? I kind of had speculation as a wrestling fan. I do honestly, when you see superstars backstage that are portrayed on, film or on TV, kind of like when I don't know how do you say it. Does any of you guys, okay, do any of you guys watch like a movie like that? Like when the ending totally pisses you off or this total like heel on the movie wins or something like that. And then later on, you kind of watch the blooper reels of the TV and you find out, hey, these guys are human just like you and me. So like that could make the experience better for people. So at the same time, you're watching this performance of this guy being a total jerk on the TV, and like you're like, you know what? That's kind of good. He's good at his craft. He's good at his craft. And obviously WWE kind of giving you behind the scenes of what happened at WrestleMania, kind of taking you back there, kind of breaking kayfabe a little bit. I don't honestly don't think that's legitimate too much. Obviously, they're going to talk about how The Rock and Roman Reigns were booked, how Cody Rhodes was originally supposed to step aside after winning the WWE Royal Rumble 2 times in a row. You wanted to see that dream match between the Tribal Chief. You saw him come out, beat the crap out of the leaving, Jinder Mahal. He was like, "Should I go sit at a bar, get a drink, or should I take a seat at the head of the table?" And the fans went absolutely nuts, absolutely ballistic. But of course, at that time, you still had Cody Rhodes. He did not know who he wanted to face, Seth Rollins, or if he wanted to, have a second go around with Roman Reigns. So I feel like WWE definitely played with both ideas a little bit, especially since the fans revolted and chose Cody Rhodes over The Rock, turning The Rock heel, creating that badass final boss. Sometimes in terms of improv, sometimes successes do come out of it. And honestly, the final boss character of The Rock is something that's going to be remembered in professional wrestling forever. And that's cool. That's something that could possibly be a reason why, you know, it's okay. It's okay to kind of take the behind the look scenes because a lot of people knew that because even when you saw promos with The Rock, even when he was talking trash to the crowd, even when he was beating up Cody Rhodes, you can still kind of sense that likability, between him and the crowd. I caught him a couple times. I caught him a couple times pandering to the crowd still. I was like, okay, Rock, all right. That could have ultimately been because there was that possibility that The Rock could have turned on Roman Reigns during the match. Could have possibly meant that Seth Rollins could have turned his back on Cody Rhodes. Could have meant for a future with Roman Reigns and The Rock fighting at SummerSlam. Obviously, now that plan that plan never really happened or surfaced. But I don't know, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy to think about. Are you mad about the documentary behind the scenes in WWE? Obviously, this is Triple H's first WrestleMania, so there's a lot of there's a lot of things behind it. So, a lot of not like a lot of hate, so to speak, but just a lot of stuff. But WWE has surfaced on social media. Like it's a huge wave. It's a huge wave of social media. Every wrestler today, every wrestler Has no matter how small they are, obviously, kind of being their own public relations, kind of specialist here, where you're kind of dictating your own character, you're dictating your own brand because you yourself as a character is a brand. Especially if you don't get re-signed to WWE, you're gonna have to find a way to reach out to AEW, to reach out to New Japan Professional Wrestling, the NWA, to the MLW, also Ring of Honor. It's you kind of have to watch your own arse in this. Because if you don't get picked up, kind of landed on your face, professional wrestling, it's a cutthroat industry. It's very, very hard to make it up to, places that pay you millions of dollars. Obviously, you have WWE and AEW, Ring of Honor. I kind of read an article that TNA wrestlers still kind of get paid like, $80,000 to like $65,000 a year, depending on your popularity. And that's if you don't have the security, financial security, you're putting food on the table for your family. There's a point where you got to be like, you know what? Yes, I'm a WWE superstar, but at the same time, I got to protect myself. So every wrestler today has a social media account, multiple social media accounts, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, you name it, on various platforms. It's crazy. It's crazy. Absolutely. And the crowd, honestly, they could benefit from this social media, context, in terms of trash talking, feuds, and promos where kayfabe isn't ruined, or it could ruin kayfabe entirely. Like a lot of people still, people know wrestling, the professional wrestling entertainment. So, a lot of people still get pissed off. A lot of people get pissed off of like, oh, why are they doing this? They're destroying kayfabe. But in the back of your mind, you secretly know that, you know, that wrestling, it's a show, it's entertainment. Obviously, you kind of have historically, like I kind of wanted to, mention the click curtain call with Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Razor Ramon, and Kevin Nash, where Kevin Nash and Scott Hall were leaving to WCW, where everybody thought, even in the locker room of WWF, they didn't get a lot of support. The only people that supported Triple H and Shawn was Vince McMahon. I read in a, I'm well, not read. I watched a documentary with Shawn Michaels where he was like, "Hey, honestly, Vince, are you upset?" And Vince was like, "Was that important to you?" And Shawn was like, "Yeah, well, it was important to me too." That's what happened with the click. And that's why people started getting a little skeptical about, these guys going to WCW, thinking that WWF as their competitor should be pissed off. Once again, kind of taking people backstage. Recently, you kind of saw this happen in terms of professional wrestling. You saw this happen with CM Punk last Friday night on SmackDown, where he was carried off into the ambulance. He was carried off in an ambulance, but was later shown on social media driving in his car out of the arena. So everyone was like, "What the hell, dude? You were carried off in an ambulance. What are you doing?" But that's wrestling. That's once I don't know if, how people. I think WWE kind of had a sudden realization that yes, it's important to keep kayfabe, but then again, it's kind of important to kind of be real. It's kind of important to be real here. Too much kayfabe might steer fans away. Leaving the locker room, leaving the backstage pass open, letting fans in about although how scripted it is, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. So that's why although some people do still get upset about the whole kayfabe thing, definitely something that still kind of lingers in the back of the mind of a lot of people. Obviously a little bit of mine as well. Like I love, obviously I love kayfabe. I love kayfabe. You see it right there. The tactical agreement between professional wrestlers and their fans to pretend overly staged wrestling events and stories, characters, etc., and are genuine. Like, dude, I love kayfabe. I love kayfabe. That's what made professional wrestling so strong. I remember watching Casket Match. My very first casket match was I watched Triple H being destroyed by Viscera and Midian on WWE SmackDown. And I saw Triple H roll into the casket, and I gotta be honest, I cried. Ask any of my family members, I cried. I thought he was dead. I thought they were gonna bury him. I thought he was done. So I was like, dude, how could they do this to somebody? What the hell is wrong with people? But then, like, that's kayfabe. That's just like, okay, like, let's just pretend. Let's just totally pretend like the Brothers of Destruction are absolutely brothers. Ken and the Undertaker are brothers. Let's just pretend that Val Venus was an actual, adult film star. Let's just pretend that these were Bailey's only buddies. These were her only friends. Good job, Bailey. You made friends with the, electric machinery that, obviously probably wouldn't work in this day and age. used car sales. I'm just kidding. And not hating on Bailey. Definitely love Bailey. But what I'm trying to get to the point is that it's not bad. It's not bad just because you see kayfabe kind of being, kind of diminished a little in the day and age of social media. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong for professional wrestling. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be bad. The way they handle it overly will determine if it's good or bad. All right, guys. So we're going to talk about Tuesdays today in wrestling history. Kind of have to wrap it up pretty soon. I got my man Emran soccer podcast coming up. So hey, honestly, do not go anywhere.